Okay, can an item number be feminist? So, typically in the context of movies, there's a standard Bechdel test. And if I were to summarize it, there's female characters, at least two women, and they're talking about something besides a man in their life, typically a love interest.
Hmm.
And if they do that, it passes the test.
I like that framing, but item numbers already fail because we only have one woman usually,
Yeah.
and her entire song is about sex and male gaze and seducing the guys.
What if we come up with a new test? Let's call it dirty brown test.
Like, welcome to Dirty Brown, the feminist podcast where I bring out the jhadu, and this time I'm holding it right. That's right, it's not for cleaning, it's for stirring things up. So, today we are diving into Bollywood to unpack the question, can item numbers be feminist? It's complicated, it's juicy but complicated, and I'm thrilled to be joined by one of my closest college friends who's here on the call with me for this conversation. Shruti and I met on campus in some Desi meetup, and we immediately connected on our love for Bollywood. Everything about it, the good, the bad, and the patriarchal ugly. We've had so many countless conversations about this topic and Bollywood in general, and I'm super excited to have you join us today. So let's dive in. Welcome, Shruti.
Thank you, Kriti. Appreciate you having me here. I'm super excited to dive into this topic.
So, item numbers, do we love them or do we hate them?
So, just to set the context, right? Bollywood in general has a lot of songs. The biggest difference between Hollywood and Bollywood, I think, is the dance numbers, the fun party song, the wedding related songs. But item numbers are a very specific category within that dancing subset. It's typically on a stage, in like a party setting. Um, and yeah, they're mostly scantily clad, aren't they?
Yep, they're scantily clad. These songs are usually very provocative, not related, may or may not be related to the movie plot, but most often they're not. They are performed by the actress who's usually called the item, and they're predominantly created for the male gaze. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, they look gorgeous, but at the same time, the way they are portrayed can make you feel one way or the other, right?
Yeah, it is quite polarizing, especially if you look online. There's so much debate about like, should we have this? It's bad for our kids. This is too sexy for Indian TV. There's other people who are like, we can't get enough of this, but also they are bangers, aren't they? Like you
Yeah,
can't help but bob your head, dance once the music comes on.
I know, and even at your wedding, we danced to a lot of them. It was so much fun, and they always are because the music is catchy, and like you said, you have to just move your hips and those little pelvic thrusts.
Oh my gosh, so many pelvic thrusts.
But before we get into the hot take of can they be feminist, do you have like a favorite item number?
Honestly, one of the classics that I love and I can't get enough of is Choli ke Peeche kya hai?
God, yes. I haven't heard it in a really long time though. Maybe we should listen to it.
We should totally listen to it.
Honestly, when I think of item numbers, the song that usually comes to mind is Sheila Ki Jawani. That choreography was pretty sick.
Also, a classic at this point. It's almost been 10 years since it came out, right? It feels
Yeah,
like it was yesterday.
I think it's been longer than that. And I till date still cannot do those dance moves that she did. I tried learning them at some point and I was like, okay, you know what? Her skill is just next level. So, getting back to our main question and the topic for today of can item numbers be feminist? What do we think about that?
I don't know. There's a gut feeling that I have, and I'm not sure if I fully sort of thought this through, but when I look at an item song amongst all the ones on Bollywood, not all of them land the same way in terms of when I look at it, when I dance to it. And I think we need a system. Like, what if we had to evaluate it?
I like that.
So, okay, can an item number be feminist? Typically, in the context of movies, there's a standard Bechdel test that we do. And if I were to summarize it, so there's female characters, at least two women, and the test is like they must at least talk to each other, and their conversation needs to be something aside from a male topic,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
they're talking about something besides a man in their life, typically a love interest,
Hmm.
And if they do that, it passes the test.
Right. Yeah, I've heard about that test. And like I even saw one study where very few movies passed that test, not just in Bollywood, but Hollywood too. Okay, I like that framing, but item numbers already fail because we only have one woman usually.
Yeah.
And her entire song is about sex and male gaze and seducing the guys.
What if we come up with a new test? Let's call it dirty brown test,
I
right?
like it. I
Yeah.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how can we categorize it? The first one that stands out is like visual component. What
Yeah.
do we see when we look at an item song?
Okay, yes, visual component is a good one. As to what do we see, what is the woman wearing, what the choreography is like.
So the visual component, what if we said something about a lyrical component, right? Like just simple, like what are the words saying? They're suggestive and some of them have problematic lyrics. And then the third one is sort of like a catch-all.
Okay, like do I want to be this person or do I feel good about myself or do I find it cringy or like why is this on the screen?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think your perspective, whether you're a male or female watching this, will be different.
True.
But also, does it make you feel empowered?
I think that sounds good. I like this Dirty Brown test. So we have the visual component, the
Yes.
lyrics component, and just how the video or like watching it as an audience makes me feel.
Yes, it's called viewer impact. So we got our
Sure.
three
Got it.
three categories.
So we're gonna definitely evaluate our favorite two, Choli Ke Peeche and Sheila Ki Jawani. They're both from two different eras of our life.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Like, and so how about we pick something more recent? One that I think is very popular is Oo Antava.
Oo Antava, yeah, it's a Telugu song. It's a banger for sure.
I've danced to it. I don't understand it, but I've definitely danced to it. Let's start with your favorite since you're the guest and, Atithi Devo Bhava.
Okay, Choli Ki Peeche is my all-time favorite. I would love to dive into it. And I think everybody's heard it at this point, and if you haven't, you're living in a bubble. So the song is from the movie Kalnayak, and it came out in the year 1993.
What are we thinking?
So, how are the women dressed, right? In this case, I do think that the outfits the women are wearing are more like Indian folksy tribal.
Yes.
So, simply going by the outfit, I don't think it's a fair judgment to make that they're wearing anything suggestive.
Yeah, they're not. I used to do folk dance in my high school. And this was a Rajasthani outfit that we would wear. Maybe the blouses weren't as short, but it is traditional wear. Everybody, men and women, everybody is wearing traditional wear in this case. The other visual component that stood out to me is the lighting. It doesn't seem like this is happening at night. It might be, but it's fully well lit. It's folksy and it almost seems like a cultural celebration of sorts, even though there's a gangster that we just saw a little clip of.
Yeah.
But it's more about just a performance. Like when we travel or go to places, we see these folk performances all the time.
Exactly what my thought was. It's a great point about the colors too. It doesn't seem like they're doing this in a shady, dark, clubby environment. In fact, there's background dancers, there's main characters, they're all dressed similarly.
Hmm.
And there's also male dancers in there,
Yeah.
but nothing the male dancers are doing seem like they're doing anything untoward towards these women.
Absolutely. They seem to be playing just a role. It's like a dancing skit almost.
So I think from a visual component, I think it's check.
It's a check. Yes, it's a check. Let's talk about the lyrics. Choli ke piche kya hai?
Choli ke piche.
For viewers, if you may not be familiar with the language, choli is essentially the blouse. So choli ke piche are essentially our breasts.
That is the suggestive component of it, where it's almost like they're making fun of you as a listener to be like, hey, what is under my blouse?
Yeah.
And you're thinking like, oh shit, based on the way she's dancing, you might be thinking she's saying my boobs, but it's not boobs, she's just saying my heart.
True.
So
Yeah.
it's on you as a viewer, shame on you for thinking something or dirty, and it's a little bit playful that way. There's nothing in here that's suggesting that something's happening to this woman that's untoward. She's definitely talking about the problematic scene that she perhaps is facing. For example, she's like, "Kya kya chupa ke chalu? What are the things I should hide? I need to be careful. Aashik pade hai piche. There's all these lover boys who are, lusting after me." But also, if you think about the words, and it's written from her perspective. She's talking about her experience. It's not talking about from a dude's perspective, nor is it saying this guy who wants to do all these things to her.
I totally agree with you. It's a bit of like a poetic way of talking about street harassment in some sense.
And the context here is all we're looking at it in 2025. The song
True.
came out in 1993,
Yeah.
and when a song first came out, right, the entire like generation of people at the time were flabbergasted. Morality police wanted nothing to do with this song, and they said it was too much for our Indian um, television. I'm pretty sure they tried to ban it.
I actually don't know about this. That's very interesting if that happened, because if you compare this to the item songs today, this looks very, can't think of a better word than just basic.
Yeah, totally, totally. Like you almost go like, what was the big deal?
Exactly. And that could also hint a little bit as like how much objectification and sexualization of women has been normalized or we're desensitized towards it.
So, back to the question, does it pass the Dirty Brown test for the lyrical component that it is feminist?
I think it does. Honestly, I'm surprised so far that it has already passed two of our things in the framework. And I think we kind of talked about how it makes us feel too.
As a viewer impact watching this today in 2025, it does not make me feel dirty. It doesn't feel like it's not consensual. Again, we didn't watch the whole video, but I also just remember from memory, like it feels tasteful, but also feels respectful.
It's respectful. Like, yeah, the ultimate goal may be seduction, like to the plot, usually, it's like, okay, it's a distraction of some kind to the villain. It's everything together, right? The visual, the lyrics. It's also folksy. I think that is also making a difference here.
Yeah.
All right, wow.
That's 3 on 3.
3 on 3. That is interesting. Okay, so I guess item numbers can be feminist.
So far, yes.
This one, if we evaluate it from 2025 standards, it passed.
It
So,
passes. Yep.
wow. All right. So the next one for something current is
Oo
Antava.
Antava.
Oo Antava. Thank you. I can never pronounce that.
కోకా 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 కడితే కొర కొరమంటూ చూస్తారు పొట్టి పొట్టి కౌని వేస్తే పట్టి పట్టి చూస్తారు కోకా అంటావా అమ్మవా ఊ అంటావా అమ్మవా.
That was a very stark difference between the two.
What did you notice?
So for me, like right off the bat, it was such a stark contrast to Choli ke Peeche. The lighting, the darkness around it, the colors like the reds and the purple and the blues. Honestly, it was giving me very strip club vibes.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
The other thing was also the dress component. While that is also a traditional dress, like what she's wearing is essentially a lehenga, it's just a very provocative lehenga. And a lot of the videography was focusing on objectifying her, just her sort of seducing the crowd and specifically that one person in the crowd.
The choreography was definitely suggestive, and even the performances, the lip biting, and the fact that the male character, he's smoking a cigarette. He's definitely like the bad boy.
Yeah.
And also, like, the movie is about Pushpa, who's supposed to be a smuggler, I think. So there's definitely a component where she's performing for gangsters.
Overall, there's just a vibe of like something negative, or it's a sin, like
Yes.
with the lighting, with
Doing something
smoking is,
dirty.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's dirty. Yes, that's what it is. It's dirty. And when I think of some of the other item songs like Mummy Ji, or even an older one like Bidi Jalaila, they have this common theme where the lighting is the way it is, the type of crowd that the woman is performing for is very similar.
Typically in Bollywood, the female character who's performing these songs, they're not necessarily part of the movie plot.
Yeah.
Like she just
True.
kind of shows up. Again, I haven't seen the movie, so I know but I don't think it's true that she's part of the movie. The movie is about this male gangster and his rise to power, really. And what is her role? She's just there to entertain. The way she's dancing, performing, it's the gaze is meant to be, look how hot she is.
Yeah. and there is zero component of a female gaze in there, by the way. But okay, it's a fail for the
It's a
visual
fail, yeah.
component. Let's talk about the lyrics.
Full disclosure, I had to Google some of the lyrics because I don't speak Telugu and neither do you. So this is something called lyricsrog.com. In the first line, it says Coca Coca Kadidi Koda. Wow, I'm gonna butcher this. I'm not even gonna try it, but the sentences mean they kill me with their looks if I wear a sari. They scan me with their eyes if I wear a skirt. Forget sari and gown. Let me divulge a secret. What is there in the dress when it's your whole that matters?
Wow.
One
Wow,
becomes
god
upside
damn.
down if I'm fair. One creates uproar if I'm dark. Forget fair and dark. Let me reveal the true color. Color and figure won't matter once you enter the field. Oo Antava, will you say yes or will you say no?
Oof. This is not suggestive at all.
I know. Again, I don't speak Telugu. The way it's transcribed and translated, it almost seems like it's just like a poetic version of this woman going,
You're gonna wanna fuck me no matter what,
there we go.
right?
Yeah.
Honestly, in some sense, it's also not very respectful to men either, because it's feeding into the stereotype of, men will fuck anything.
And is this song critiquing the objectification of women or is it glorifying objectification of women?
I don't know.
If you that's where I'm torn to, because if you just listen to lyrics translated without the music and without the video, it feels like this woman is critiquing and talking about how fucked up our society is. No matter what I do, you're gonna want me, you're gonna come after me, and almost like you're disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
And also, yeah, to your point, portraying men in like
Disgraceful manner.
yeah, disgraceful manner. That's a great way to put it. From that perspective, I'm like, yeah, it's I think critiquing.
Maybe that was the point, because the movie is about this bad guy who becomes the biggest mafia or whatever. That kind of flips the script of the video too a little bit. Like it kind of puts her in an empowering position where this happens to be a scenario where he is a bad guy.
Right.
And the lyrics and the video and everything is sort of catering to that bad guy narrative. But okay, so let's put a pin in the lyrics and
Yeah.
like talk about how does it make us feel.
So I thought of something that we didn't discuss in the previous video, which is I don't know how much you are aware of Telugu cinema, but Samantha, who is the character performing, she's a dancer. She is known to play a protagonist, and she has done many movies where she's a main character. The fact that it's a known, famous actress doing the song, doing specifically the item number, versus just some random person that you didn't know,
Yeah.
does it make a difference? I think it does.
It's interesting to talk about that perspective. The more I think about item numbers, it seems that a lot of big mainstream Bollywood actresses are doing it. We have all the way from Deepika Padukone to Priyanka Chopra to Katrina Kaif. They've all done it. So I'm not sure if who is doing it makes a difference. When it's become like a expectation almost that item numbers will be part of the movies.
Right. Yeah. So maybe neutral impact from that perspective. Okay. So viewer impact on Oo Antava, what do we think?
I don't think it's empowering. So I definitely wouldn't put this in the category of a feminist song.
Here's my problem. The lyrics are fine. Viewer impact. It doesn't make me feel dirty, but also most songs that I watch, even if it is meant to evoke provocativeness and meant for male gaze, most songs like that don't evoke that in me.
And do we think it's just because we've accepted this is gonna exist?
This is where I'm having a hard time separating my own bias. In some way, it is objectifying the female lead in there. The way she's dancing, the choreography, and she's performing in a dimly lit environment specifically meant to make her look like she is a hot woman.
Yeah.
Look at me. Now, she does a great job, and I think she's a great dancer with expressions and everything. So it takes some of that messaging for me personally to go, like, I will appreciate a person's choreography based on how good you're dancing, how skilled you are.
Yeah.
And also, like, some of the stuff looked really hard, but it is somewhat of a provocative move. It's a lot of hip thrusting. Whether or not I'm getting the message of, look at her, isn't this sexy? Doesn't this turn you on? I'm looking at it and going, yeah, good job, girl. Put yourself out there. But that's not necessarily the intended message, and that's not how majority of people and the audience for whom this is made for will react that way.
I agree. We could look at it from like a appreciation of the arts perspective, but I think from a feminist lens, it's objectifying the woman. Her entire role in that movie is just about sex and seducing this man. And even the lyrics are just about
The topic of the conversation, the genre is sex.
exactly. And so from that perspective, I think it's a no. It doesn't meet the bar. Okay, wow, that was quite tough to get to a conclusion for.
Now that, we're going through this evaluation, it's just making me rethink my own sort of gut reactions, and also just the fact that we've been accepting what we hear on media. Like, it's having me question my own beliefs, to be honest.
I mean, that's what this entire podcast is about, to just like make you think
Yeah,
about whatever is normalized today.
totally.
All right, so last one, Sheila Ki Jawani. Are we doing this?
I think we are.
never gonna get it तेरे हाथ कभी ना नहीं किसी और की मुझको जरूरत क्या मैं तो खुद से ही प्यार जताऊं What's my name? My name is Sheila Ki Jawani. I'm too sexy for you मैं तेरे हाथ ना आनी
Okay, so from a visual component perspective, I think the suggestive seduction type thing is there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways about it. She starts off the whole thing tied up in a sheet on a bed.
Yeah. Also, the protagonist says what is happening, like "Aankhon se balatkar,"
Which means everybody's raping her with their eyes.
which is what item numbers are usually. They're provocative and it's for the male
Suggestive,
gaze.
yep.
So clearly he calls out what's happening. So from a visual component, it's closer to, I think, Choli ke Peeche than it is to Oo Antava, but I still think it's a fail.
I would agree with you. And just to be clear, it has failed it in the sense that it is not feminist if you just looked at it.
While yes, like video alone fails the video component of the Dirty Brown test, but I cannot help and admire her skill here.
Yeah, it is certainly beguiling.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the lyrics.
I'm torn. So there's parts of the lyrics that are definitely, I would consider feminist. Like the fact that she says, "Kisi aur ki mujhko zarurat kya, main khud se pyar jataun,"
Yep,
literally translates to, I don't need anybody else, I'm gonna love myself.
yep.
Great, feminist, empowering, and the kind of stuff we want to hear. If there were to be item songs, I'd want Sheila Ki Jawani, that specific lyrical kind of thing, to be up and foremost. That said, there's other components in there, like when Akshay Kumar, who is the protagonist of the movie, there's still something to, in terms of lyrics, as well as the visual component. They're lusting after her, they're getting really close to her. Yeah, she's batting them away, but it doesn't seem consensual. She didn't invite them on stage, be like, come dance with me. They're still invading her space.
I was surprised in the previous song, Oo Antava, she actually invites him up. He's the bad guy and he only comes up to her and dances with her after her consent, so to say. But at the same time, in the previous song, there was a lot of like, I would call it exhibitionism, because they're doing all these sexual things and it's in front of this entire crowd, which may or may not be safe. And then when I compare it to this one, the Sheila Ki Jawani song, you're totally right. The protagonist is there and he's not taking no for an answer.
And if I may add one more thing, in the beginning, when he said, you're raping her with your eyes, if the whole premise of the song was that she is a skilled performer with her own autonomy, performing and doing this, why is he needed to go up there, try to protect her? But under the guise of protection, he himself is coming onto her. He is.
There's also this dynamic of just Akshay Kumar being like this really old actor who keeps coming into movies with really young actresses, but that's a topic for another day.
Yep. So from lyrical component, pass or fail. Visual component, fail. We already said that.
Yeah.
Lyrical component.
Lyrical component, I think if I was to purely just read the lyrics, I think it's a pass, because it is about exploring her own sexuality and loving herself.
I get that, for sure.
Now, how does it make us feel?
So I think one thing that we didn't explicitly say, but when I watch this, when I sing this, and when I sort of partake in this song, does it make me feel like I'm objectifying the woman herself? Irrespective of what my beliefs are, am I part of the problem by watching to this, subscribing to this, singing it, playing it?
We are. We absolutely, all of us are, because we are enjoying it. We're enjoying it from a perspective of not like it's bad to enjoy it, but we're not like protesting against it. We're not boycotting movies that have item numbers. We're not giving celebrities a reason to not sign up for item numbers.
Yeah. I mean, sex sells
Yeah.
and we're buying it. And, we said it earlier, even if it is problematic, even if the dude is, pushing himself onto her, I still can't stop watching Katrina Kaif. Like, I had to literally peel my eyes away from her to see what other things are happening on stage because she holds my gaze.
I think when I look at it holistically with the lyrical component, the video, and everything, there is something empowering about it because she holds the cards in this case to be like, nope, I'm too sexy for you. She's shooing him away throughout the video. Maybe that's why it doesn't feel dirty. So I guess our framework was, does it make us feel dirty? It doesn't. So I'd say it passes.
I agree with you. She holds the power and she is asserting her autonomy very clearly and very well, lyrically as well as visually.
I think some of the differences that stand out could also have to do with the fact that this was choreographed by a woman. The lyrics are still by a guy, right?
That's right, yeah. So this was choreographed by Farah Khan, and the lyricist is Vishal Dadlani, who, by the way, was also pictured in this video.
Oh, the director guy.
Yeah. I think last thing I'll say is when I watched that song, and I don't know if it's just because it's Katrina Kaif and I'm a huge fan of hers. Again, my own bias. It makes me feel upbeat and it makes me feel like you go girl, you tell them what's up, you be in charge.
Yeah.
And in a way it makes me feel that's how I want to be. If I were to ever dance, I want to dance my heart out and I want to tell people like I don't need you. It feels empowering. And I don't know how to explain it and I don't know how to what specifically is. I don't think I can put a finger on it, but it does not feel dirty.
I think it has to do with the visual component at the end of the day. Like lyrics are something you can still sort of forget about, but it's the visual component that I think has the biggest impact. A lot of the item numbers like Mamiji, Oo Antava, Bidi Jalele, their choreography is usually around gangsters. And as women, none of us want to be around a gangster. So when you have this scantily clad woman who's seducing them, it almost carries this air of like, is she safe? It sort of
Like
reminds
when
me of
she's
all the
already around these morally corrupt men,
exactly.
what is going to stop them? Like of all the people in the world, gangsters and people like lawbreakers, they're the last person you think of to be respectful of women. Now, whether it's because the media has portrayed them as that, or if it's our own personal bias, but that is the messaging,
Yeah.
no doubt.
And I think that's why songs like Sheila Ki Jawani don't leave us feeling dirty, but those other songs like Oo Antava may leave us feeling dirty. Okay, so I honestly didn't think that item numbers could be feminist. With Choli Ke Peeche definitely passed. Like all around, it was like a yes, which I was totally surprised by. And like the other ones, I think it really depends on different components.
So to conclude, right? Sex sells, item numbers sell. Everybody watches it. We watch it. We love dancing to it. We want to play it at our parties.
Yeah.
We don't want it to stop, but clearly
I
there's
mean, I wouldn't mind if they stopped.
so that's where I think you and I might disagree a little bit. And so my take is that realistically speaking, it's not going to stop anytime soon, but there's ways they can make it more empowering, like write the lyrics better. We see when women choreograph the songs, for example, Choli Ke Peeche, Sheila Ki Jawani, both choreographed by women, Saroj Khan
Yeah.
and Farah Khan, respectively, compared to Oo Antava or Bidi Jalaile, which are choreographed by men, also written by men. Maybe if we want to have an item number, we can change the narrative by having different people partaking in that song. So maybe not on screen, but people who are supporting that song, they can make minor changes in terms of whose story are they telling, for whose purpose they're telling. And if they're gonna be hot people dancing, right? Like that's who we want to watch. They're aspirational people at the end of the day. So maybe make it more inclusive, add more characters, add some more depth that doesn't make me feel guilty for enjoying that dance. Sheila Ki Jawani, when I listen to it, I come out of it feeling I want to be her dancing, performing the way she's doing it.
Because she just does it so well. But I totally agree with you. That depth would definitely elevate item numbers. There was a part in Sheila Ki Jawani where she was wearing that shirt dress type of a outfit. That outfit, it is also sexy, and it wasn't scantily clad like the other, cholis and however things are. And even Kamli Kamli, which is her other song, has athletic outfits where it's more about how she's carrying that outfit
Yes.
versus how she's dressed.
That's a good point. And that made me think of when I look at her dances, I go, she's showing, look what I can do with my body, not just look at my body.
Exactly.
I mean, you are looking at her body, and she is definitely hot. But the point she's making, the message I'm getting is that look how well I can dance, not like me or like look at me for just having these female parts. Anytime Katrina Kaif is performing, I am watching. I'm glued to my screen.
We love her.
We love
That's the
her.
one
Yes.
takeaway. Yeah, if directors are listening, please just have her do the item numbers.
Totally. And more female choreographers, please. Can we just have a rule where only female choreographers are choreographing item numbers? Because it makes a huge, huge difference.
It does make a difference. And we saw that with the two songs that actually did come up on top.
Totally.
So that's a wrap. That was a very interesting conversation. I will definitely, whenever I look at item numbers now, I don't think I'm going to look at the same way. I'm going to be constantly now using the dirty brown test. Thank you so much, Shruti, for this conversation. It was quite fascinating.
Happy to be here. This is fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this conversation today. What do you think? Can item numbers be feminist? Drop a comment with your favorite item number, and I would love to know if that passed the dirty brown test or not. Until next time, goodbye.